we are not moving on the right track. Let us go and pray. Let us do fasting. Prayer will not work. Fasting will not work. Quran chapter 13 verse 11. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma bi qawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah will ever change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. The majority of the people that will be in Al-Jannah are poor people. So poverty is a virtue. Yeah. Somebody was told from childhood that poverty is virtue. For you to go with your cup in your hand is a sign that Allah loves you. You are poor does not actually mean that you have more iman. Neither does it in any way prove that you are closer to Allah or that you will be among the first to enter Al-Jannah.
Under the crescent moon, hearts alight, joyous spirits fill the night.
Now, if your income, the money where you dey get, your income cannot provide you water, clean water, cannot provide you food, cannot provide you accommodation or shelter, and when you have problems, you cannot go to hospital to access healthcare, health facility so that you'll be treated and fine. You are poor. That first one, necessity. By necessity, we mean those things without which you cannot exist. Without water, you cannot exist. Without food, you will die. In fact, for accommodation, you will have to look for alternatives. Where I go hide my head when night reach. And for health issues, you must look for alternatives. Even when you don't have the means to access adequate or standard healthcare facilities, you will look for alternatives. Look for agbo, look for one concussion like that, and just look for a way to have your health restored back to normal. Those three things. Once our income cannot take care of them, honestly, you are poor. But for those in abject poverty, chronic poverty, absolute poverty, subhanallah, if you have one meal, you don't have assurance of getting the next meal. Yeah, that is a sorry case. If you see chop now, you don't know where you go see chop again. We have them in Nigeria today. And after that, he went further to highlight some points that are closely related. And now when you are done with necessity, you come to needs. Needs, for example, means of transportation. They are the things you need to make your life a little bit more comfortable. You need a car. You need electricity. Without electricity, you can still live. Abi? Needs. We need it. And for the third one is luxury. Just to make life much more comfortable. I need a car of social standard. I need a house of social standard, and so on and so forth. And then he proceeded, because we wouldn't want to demand for more time. He had to examine the concept of poverty fundamentally along two lines. One is the effect of poverty on rural development, effect of poverty on family health care. The man who is looking for food to eat, his integrity is gone. You can tell him to do anything, to say anything. He is ready to do it, provided that you will provide him with food to eat. Hence the prophet said, Al-Fakru Yahdi il-Al-Kufru. Poverty leads to unbelief. Sometimes you hear people do say, it's because it's not principled. It's not true. If you are faced with extreme poverty, you will say anything, you will do anything. Somebody committed murder because of 10,000 naira. Killed a fellow human being because of 10,000 naira. And I'm sure even if he was given 5,000, I would have done it because of extreme poverty. And I want to say this. While examining the causes, we are going to look at that very briefly. One of the causes of poverty is wrong Islamic orientation, wrong values, wrong beliefs. In Islam, let me quickly say this. When we mention Islam, there are four things that we talk about. It's a kind of a square or a rectangle or a four-sided polygon. The first one is aqaid, beliefs. Beliefs, you believe in Allah, believe in last day, and so on. The second one is ibadah, worship. The third one is muamalat, transaction, social interaction. And the fourth one is akhlaq, character. And the Prophet said, Innama bu'istu li utammimu makarim al-akhlaq. Allah raised me in order to perfect conduct, good morals. Now, somebody was told from childhood that poverty is virtue. For you to go with your cup in your hand is a sign that Allah loves you. That majority of the people that will be in Al-Jannah are poor people. So poverty is a virtue. Yeah. Al-Majri. And my brother is mentioning Al-Majri here. Al-Majri system of education in its original form was perfect. It was a combination of knowledge and skills. It was when the Westerners came, they bastardized it. Still, in relation to what you mentioned earlier on, the New World Order, it is our system we follow. If you ask some of the ranking senators today, even the likes of Tambuwal, they went through Al-Majri system of education. It was okay. It's a combination of Karantu, Islamic knowledge, and skills. But when it was bastardized, it was reduced to absolute nothingness. Go and beg. And today, look at what it has caused. If you look at the poorest region today, when he was analyzing along these regions, the rural areas, then he looked at Nigeria, the northern part, northwest, northeast, they are the worst hit when it comes to the issue of poverty. And the big question is asking is why? How come the effort the government has been making for the past 4 decades, they are not yielding the desired outcome? So the point I needed to underscore on this is that those 4 cohorts, those 4 things we mentioned, they cannot be separated from one another. Character, social interaction, worship, and then belief, they go together. They must marry perfectly for you to have an ideal Islam or something close to that. Therefore, it is wrong for any Muslim to be proud that he is poor and that poor people will be more in Al-Jannah than rich people. This is a wrong idea. Because when you are poor, everything about you is on the negative domain. The fact that you are poor does not actually mean that you have more iman. Neither does it in any way prove that you are closer to Allah, or that you will be among the first to enter Al-Jannah, or that you will speak the truth. It is not a yardstick, the fact that one is poor. And now, on the review of the Nigerian case, he mentioned some factors and he did some comparison between countries like Kenya, Ghana, and Zambia. And then he examined some important economic concepts like gross national product, gross domestic product, national income, per capita income, and stuff like that. But I want to emphasize here, they believe that large population, or the claim, or the assumption that large population is a problem is not true. Even Malthusian theory on population, it has since been debunked, even if, he was trying to talk about geometric progression and arithmetic progression. When you look at a nation, gross domestic product, the money value of all the goods and services of that country for a defined period of time, usually 1 year. Then you look at gross national income. You look at GDP as well, GNP, national product, which is measuring income. There is a point I want to emphasize. You may forget those jargons. The point I want to emphasize here is the per capita, but that is looking at the income of the average Nigeria. How do you measure it? You look at your population as the denominator, and then you look at your total output. That is your income, the money where we get for the whole year. We go take and divide the population where we get. Then you have per capita income. You now know wetin the money when e dey for each person head. The meaning is, if total output is stagnant, that is, it's not moving, it's not growing, whether arithmetically or geometrically stagnant, or is declining, and the population is increasing, definitely society will run into problems. And that is precisely what we have in Nigeria. Our total output is reduced. What we should emphasize is that the population should be productive. Government must put in place an ideal environment for economic activities to thrive in accordance with the teachings and principles of Al-Islam. It's not about growth in population per se, but rather about a decline or stagnation in the national output. I don't know if I am communicating here. Yes. Nigeria yesterday, we were able to, maybe at the end of the year, say 1,000 metric tons of social products. But the following year, it reduced by 1,000. The following year by 100, the following year by another 100. It means there is a problem. And by so doing, the per capita income with which he compared countries like Kenya, Zambia, to say that Nigeria is not doing well. But there is a challenge here. The challenge is the Islamic alternative. Nigeria is a multi-religious society. Are you going to bring in the Islamic alternatives and then impose it on the government of Nigeria? Or is going to be a case of moral suasion? You beg, please do it like this. Or is going to be a case of you participating actively in the electioneering process, so that those Islamic alternatives gradually, progressive gradualism, gradually you begin to fix them in, you bring them in one after the other. Or you stay aloof, or you run away completely to say, look, democracy is shirk, democracy is tantamount to paganism. If you are there, whatever you are doing amounts to kufr. Then be ready for more problems. Be ready for more problems. What we tell people, what is wrong in a democratic setting, identify them and face them, tackle them. So you see, this is a democratic system. This one is wrong, that one is wrong. But I can tell you, in the past I used to have a different view on this. But that's why it's good to learn. And when you learn, you shift your ideas. There are so many good things about democracy, honestly. The principles and the way they are being applied. But the truth of the matter is, when bad people are the helms of affairs, they use them negatively in order to achieve their negative agenda. We are saying our youth are being derailed. How come the system is so attractive? Why is Islam not attractive to our youth? You should ask yourself that question. Because some of these facilities, when we were young, they were not available. Now they are available. That means we too should be fast in our thinking. How do we package Islam? How do we present Islam so that it will be attractive to them, so as to mitigate the effect of, what the Western culture or value is having on our children? Don't insist the way you were brought up, that is how you will bring up your children. You will fail. The system has changed. You must be creative, you must be innovative in such a way that you can counterbalance. You can strike, at a midway so that we can forge ahead. May Allah guide us right. The terms and conditions for you to access credit facilities, they are not helpful, particularly to third world countries, of which Nigeria is one. At accessing loan from World Bank, particularly IMF, number one, devaluation of currency. Number two, reduction in government expenditure. Number three, privatization of public enterprises. Number four, removal of all trade restrictions. And number five, removal of subsidies. Yeah, we are not moving on the right track. Let us go and pray. Let us do fasting. Prayer will not work. Fasting will not work. Quran chapter 13 verse 11. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma bi qawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah will ever change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. On Friday, you come to the mosque with big tasbih. Step full. When you are out of there, you go back to your illicit business. Yeah. In fact, this last Ramadan, somebody shared experience. In the month of Ramadan, the man he bought from, thank you, 7 minutes. He bought some food items from the man using his wheelbarrow. And then he treated him. Meanwhile, he was counting tasbih, subhanallah, subhanallah. Chanting subhanallah at the same time cheating. Something that is fake, you say is original in the month of Ramadan. So, of what benefit is askar? You say askar is a check. It can help you to overcome certain diseases of the heart, and it brings you closer to Allah. And now you are doing askar, even in the process of your askar, you are cheating. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So on the Islamic alternative, before we round off, he mentioned that introducing programs that will enhance the level of national output. We talked about national output. Programs and policies that will increase it. Point is, there are things government must do. There are things traditional rulers must do. There are things imams must do. Imams must stop lying. Imams must stop playing politics with everything. I will continue to say, if you speak the truth, you will die. If you choose to remain silent, you will still die. It is better to speak the truth so that you will be counted among those who actually said that this thing is wrong. According to the hadith of the Prophet. Then he mentioned encouragement of hard work. Then development of workable social security system. Then he mentioned moderation in spending. And then he talked about running away from extravagance, corruption, and unnecessary consumption. He also talked about tackling insecurity. And then, to summarize, prompt payment of zakah. He emphasized that because an institution, zakah and sadaqah. Volunteering assistance of the underprivileged. These are Islamic alternatives. Then he mentioned appropriate recognition and reward system commensurate with one's ability, intelligence, hard work, and efficiency. Now, how you fit take do work, now they go take pay you. How you they use your knowledge, now so they go take reward you. And that is what Islam emphasizes. And then upholding kindness, generosity, and sacrifice. That's universal brotherhood. And he talked about eschewing, running away from practices that Islam frowns at. And also putting in place punitive measures like hoarding, usury. Part of the problems we have in this society is that there are some people who are above the law. In the Quran, I will round off. I think my time is up now. My time is up, but I will refer you to a verse of the Quran, and I will round off on that. Quran chapter 16, verse 90. 16, verse 90, Surah Nahl. In that ayah, Allah mentioned 3 fundamental things, principles. If we want to have a sane society, a fair society, a progressive society, a society whose national income will be developed, will be growing, the output will be growing on a daily basis. Those 3 things. In Allah, ya'muru bil adl wal ihsan. Ya'muru bil adl. Allah commands justice. That's number 1. Wal ihsan. Ihsan is a term that has children and great-grandchildren. Doing good generally. And then being good to your kids and kin, to your family relatives. The justice system will ensure that what belongs to A is given to A, what is B will be given to B. Ihsan will create an enabling environment, forgiveness, generosity, love, patience, all of that Ihsan will bring about it. Then you start from the family. وَيَنْهَا عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ. He now said, run away from 3 things. Fahsha, immorality. We're talking about delinquencies. Anything and everything that will encourage it, you must fight it by any means necessary. And then, wal munkar, evil in general, wal bagyu, oppression. we must run away from it. So you have been admonished. Try and do this in order to have a stable society, a fair society, and so that we have families whose level of income will improve significantly. The rural areas we're talking about will improve significantly, and then we'll have a better society. May Allah count us among the yastami'una al-qawlan fayattabi'una hasanahu. Those that will hear and follow the best out of what they have heard. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.